Good morning, friends. Today, in this video lecture, I'm going to give a description about what is setting and hardening of cement, what are refractive materials, and applications of ceramics. Setting of hardening of cement, refractive materials, and application of ceramics. What is the setting and hardening of a Portland cement? Normally, when we mix water to a Portland cement, it is converted into a plastic mass, a flexible mass that we can apply to anything very easy. Normally, after forming of a plastic mass, when the time passes slowly, it loses its plasticity and becoming a stiff mass. So this process of the stiffening into a strong mass called setting and hardening. So how can we say that it is taking a setting and hardening? We can test it with a standard needle. If you insert a needle, if it is inserting very easily, then we say that it is still in the plastic portion. But once the penetration is not possible, it is becoming tough to penetrate, then it is attaining that the setting and hardening. So the setting and hardening can be tested with a standard needle. The extent here it is penetrating into that mass can be tested here. So what is a setting and what is a hardening? Setting is defined as a process of the stiffening of the original plastic mass due to initial gel formation. Initial gel formation. We all know that the molecules are binding and leaving some water inside in it. Then we normally call it as a gel portion. So setting is a initial gel formation. Normally we can say in another way, this initial gel formation is a physical process. Completely setting is a physical process. The hardening. Hardening is a process of development of strength. So the water in this gel is slowly evaporating. Then what will happen? The molecules are more closer to each other. Then it will attain the process of crystallization. The crystallization develops the strength. So the final strength that we normally get by a process called hardening. So setting is the initial gel formation. It is a physical process. Hardening is the final strength development. It is a crystallization process and mostly a chemical process. So when you just observe the time, setting takes place in very few hours, but hardening takes place days, even years to complete. So it is mostly several days. Sometimes it is a continuous reaction process, and it will take even years for the completion. Setting and hardening are mainly due to two chemical reaction process. One is a hydration, the other one is a hydrolysis. So chemical reactions of setting and hardening are mainly due to hydration and hydrolysis reactions. So we are all know that when cement is mixed to your water, the paste becomes quite rigid within a short time. So quite rigid within a short time. So initial setting. So this we normally call it as the initial setting or a flash set. This is due to one of the constituent present in the cement, that is a tricalcium aluminate C3A, which hydrates rapidly. So C3A very reactive in nature. It quickly hydrates and it sets very quickly. The initial setting that we normally get is due to the C3A content in the clinker. We are all learned earlier in the manufacturing process. The clinker formation is takes place with the combination of C3A, C4AF, C3S and C2S. The Portland cement consists of the main constituents like C3A, C4AF, C3S and C2S. These four only will undergo hydration and hydrolysis chemical reaction process. As we just learned, the initial setting that we are getting because of C3A hydration. C3A quickly absorb water and will form a hydration product. So it is a addition product. 3CaO, Al2O3, 6H2O. A addition product will be formed. So this process we normally call it as hydration. Hydration means addition product. So in this reaction process, it is an exothermic reaction. High amount of heat will be liberated. So here we can see that 880 kilojoules of per kg heat will be produced with this reaction. It will take only a less time. So that's why the initial strength, the cement mall, when you are applied to aggregates, we normally get from this C3A constituent. Next, the C4AF will undergo hydration process. So C4AF will undergo hydration process like this. C4AF plus, so here it is a 7H2O. Very sorry to say here 7H2O. C3A plus 6H2O plus CfH2O. So totally 7 water molecules will be there. So C3A tricalcium aluminate, C4 CF calcium ferrite iron oxide, lime and iron oxide, and 420 kilojoules. It is also an exothermic reaction, so 420 kilojoules per kg of heat will be liberated. When we just observed these two reactions takes place in 1 day time. So 1 day time, the hydration of C3A and C4A will be completed, and a huge amount of heat will be liberated. So you have to dispatch this heat. How to dispatch this heat? So that's why we have to cure the mall, the cement mall. Suppose you just keeping a slab, concrete slab, then what we normally do? We just pour continuously water in it. Why water? Water is the best coolant. Water is the best coolant. So that's why what it does, it dispatches the heat liberated by C3AR, C4AF. So that's what we normally do. This watering process of a cement, that we normally call it as a curing. So this curing process we carry initially the first day with the maximum amount of water, because a huge amount of heat will be liberated. And next, the C3S reaction will start. So C3S reacts with the water molecules. We normally get a tobermonite gel, 3CaO, 2SaO2, 3H2O. This combination will normally give a tobermonite gel. Here, water is adding. So water is adding, this is called a hydration reaction. And the remaining water reacts with calcium and undergo hydrolysis. Hydrolysis means breaking of the water. So H2O will, if it breaks, it normally give a OH and OH minus and H plus. So OH minus here it is adding. OH minus here it is adding. So that's why calcium hydroxide will be formed. So hydrolysis reaction. This is a hydrolysis reaction. This is the hydration reaction. So that's why earlier we just call the setting and hardening process is a hydration and a hydrolysis process. And it releases 400 kilojoules per kg. Again, this is also exothermic reaction process, but the time taken to complete this reaction is 7 days. So again, here it is releasing a water, releasing a heat continuously. We have to cool the mud. So that's why we normally keep water continuously again 7 more days also. So here we put a more water here, but we just reduce 4 times a day. We normally carry the curing process the next 7 days. So the C3A and C4A will provide a initial strength in 1 day, but C3S reaction is carrying, it normally provides the final strength. So that's why any construction process, the final strength that we normally get within the 1 week. After 1 week, it normally attains the final strength. But C2S is a continuous reaction process. So it will take place continuously. And in similar to C3S, here C2S will also undergo hydration and hydrolysis reaction. Here also it will give a tobermonite gel and at the same time calcium hydroxide along with some amount of heat. But this is a continuous reaction process. It normally will take 28 days. We are estimated it is a 28 days, but it will extend even. It is a continuous slow reaction process. A continuous slow reaction process. So the maximum days that we are saying it is a 28 days. So when this reaction is also almost completed, then we say that it is providing a ultimate strength. Ultimate strength. So C3A, C4AF will provide a initial strength. C3S provide a final strength, and C2S will provide a ultimate strength to the construction process. So this is what the setting and hardening of cement. Have a look here what we just learned in the setting and hardening of cement. So these are the few things. Setting is a physical process. The stiffening of mass will take place by initial gel formation. Hardening is a chemical process. The stiffening of mass or development of strength will take place due to crystallization. The hydration and hydrolysis reactions are the important reactions, chemical reactions of setting and hardening. The C3A, C4AF, C3S, CTS will undergo this hydration and hydrolysis. C3A and C4AF will undergo hydration and provide a initial strength in 1 day, and C3S will undergo hydration and hydrolysis, can carry 7 days and provides the final strength. But CTS is a very slow reaction process. It will take continuously. It never ends. And it will undergo several years even. But we are taking the maximum time to get a ultimate strength is 28 days. So CTS will provide a ultimate strength within the 28 days. So here also it will take hydration and hydrolysis reactions. All these are exothermic in nature. They liberate heat. So we have to dissipate this heat. To dissipate this heat, we normally cure with the water. So the watering process and the construction process is to dissipate or uniformly distribute the heat. We use a coolant water. Thank you. Next, we'll move to refractory materials. What are refractory materials? These are inorganic materials which can withstand high temperatures without softening. They can normally, when a temperature is increasing, any solid material will undergo expansion or contraction. But here, these materials, without undergoing any softening process, it won't melt. Without melt, which can withstand high temperatures. Or how can we say, softening temperatures suffering any deformation. If it is undergoing a change in its shape also, then it is a problem. So that's why without changing the shape, without undergoing softening, any material, inorganic material, if it is withstanding high temperatures, then the material, we can call it as a refractory material. Where we use these refractory materials? Refractory materials we use as a lining materials, especially in the furnace. kilns. Rotary kiln also we can use these refractory materials as a lining materials because these are the best insulators. They normally insulate the heat in the surface to go into the environment. So any heat losses there in the surface will be reduced. Heat losses will be there by conduction, convection, and radiation process. So these heat losses by conduction, convection, and radiation process can be completely stopped by these lining materials, these refractive materials, especially in furnace, kilns, ovens, converters, crucibles. All these are the places where we normally carry heating operations. Otherwise, we can call them as a heat resistant and heat withstanding materials. The refractories are heat resistant and heat withstanding materials. So what are refractive materials chemically? Chemically, these are oxides of metals and non-metals. Silica brick, we say silica brick, SaO2. It's a non-metal oxide. Alumina brick, Al2O3. It's a metal oxide. Fire clay brick, Al2O3, SaO2. So when you are observing here, it consists of either a metal oxides or a non-metal oxides or in a combination. So that's why chemically refractory materials are oxides of metals and non-metals. How we can classify refractories? So by the nature of the oxides of metals and non-metals, based on the nature of oxides of metals and non-metals, they are classified as acidic refractories, basic refractories, and neutral refractories. What are acidic? Non-metals are electronegative in nature. They normally attract electrons. The one which accept electrons, we say acidic. So non-metal oxides are acidic in nature, and metal oxides are basic in nature. So this is and the neutral. We'll see that what are acidic refractories. These are the non-metal oxides. Exactly when we want to tell what are acidic refractories, these are the refractories which consists of a acidic metal or a non-metal oxide like alumina or silica. Because alumina is an amphoteric, it is not a pure metal in nature. It will show it is an amphoteric in nature. So that's why amphoteric metal and silicon oxides are the best example for the acidic oxides. They are not attacked by acidic material. Acidic refractories are not attacked by acidic material but easily attacked by basic materials. Examples: alumina, silica, fire clay. Fire clay means Al2O3 SiO2. Clay means Al2O3 SiO2 H2O. When we are applying the calcination process, then what will happen? The H2O will be evaporated, leaving only Al2O3 and SiO2. So when clay is fired, we'll get Al2O3 SiO2. So that's why fire clay refractories means alumina silicate refractories. Basic refractories. These are refractories which consist of a basic metal oxides. So mostly alkaline and alkali earth metal oxides are basic in nature. So CaO, MgO or CaO, MgO combination, dolomite we can call it as. So these are all not attacked by basic materials but easily attacked by acidic materials. So basics are easily reacted with acids and not reacted with the bases. So if they are easily attacked by acids, then we say they are basic refractory materials. What are neutral refractories? So either weakly acidic or weakly basic materials. These are made up of either weakly acidic or weakly basic. So that's why they cannot easily attacked by either the acids or the bases very easily. Examples: carbon. So we can say carbon graphite is the best example. Like in the same way, chromites, Cr2O3, zirconia, ZrO2. So these are the best examples for the neutral refractories. They cannot easily attacked by the weak acids and the weak bases. Graphite, zirconia, carborundum, silicon carbide, carborundum, and chromides are the neutral refractory materials. So we have only two topics: what are refractive materials and what is the classification of refractive materials. So that's why we'll see that the review what we just have in the refractive material. Refractive materials are heat resistant or heat withstanding materials without undergoing any softening. So the materials which can withstand heat without undergoing softening, they are called refractive materials. There are three types of refractive materials: acidic, basic, and neutral. Acidic are attacked by bases. Examples: non-metal oxides. Basics are attacked by acids and mostly metal oxides. Neutral are feebly attacked by acids and bases, and we say graphite and carborundum. Good, we just moved to a small topic, the ceramics. What are ceramic materials? What is the simple classification and what are the application of ceramics that we have in our syllabus? So we are going to discuss only these simple topics. What are ceramics? Ceramics are polycrystalline inorganic metallic or non-metallic materials. So as we just observed, metallic oxides and non-metallic oxides. So these ceramics are polycrystalline in nature, which are of inorganic metal oxides or non-metal oxides. In exactly what we can say that what are ceramics are? Ceramics are the materials which can be processed and used at high temperature. Ceramic materials are the materials which can be processed and used at high temperatures. They can be prepared at high temperatures or they can be used at high temperatures. We have seen earlier, cement is prepared around 1700 degrees centigrade. So processed, then we normally call it as a ceramic. So cementing materials are come under ceramics. At the same time, refractive materials which can withstand high temperatures. So that's used at high temperatures. So refractive materials, cementing materials, these are all ceramics only. In the same way, clay products. You just want to prepare a pot with a clay. Then what we normally do, we fire it. So we process it at high temperature. So process it, any material processed at high temperature is called a ceramic. Ceramic. A tile processed at high temperature. Glass processed at high temperature. So that's why it is not a restriction here. I'm just giving only 4 examples because that you know maximum. Any materials which are processed and used at high temperature come under the class of ceramic materials. It is not restricted. Some additional compounds are also there. So I am not included here. So as we just observed, refractive materials and cementing materials, these are all the silicates and aluminates. So that's why, or metal oxides. So metal or non-metal oxides, we can say that the ceramic materials are including wide range of silicates, metallic oxides, and combination of silicates and metal oxides. So what are these? The ceramic materials are classified into here. This is not a restricted one like this. They classified as clay products, refractive materials, cementing materials, glasses, asbestos, adhesives, etc. So they all normally have this metal oxides and non-metal oxides in their processed and used at the high temperatures. So that we can class them into ceramics. Applications ceramics. As we just seen earlier, the clay products. The older ceramics refer to structural clay products. Where we normally use these clay products, we use it to prepare ponds to store water, prepare ponds to plants, various designs. At the same time, we can prepare pipes, clay pipes for drainage purpose that we normally use are running concrete pipes that we normally preparing nowadays, the bigger one for water or drainage purpose. So these are all also come under this category. Tiles, the porcelain tiles that we are using in our sanitary ware, the best examples. So the lavatory basins, the sinks, the wash basins, and everything that come under this ceramic materials. White waste or porcelain waste. Normally, we see that we use these especially in the chemical industries or chemical laboratories. The crucibles, pingani or porcelain, we normally call them as the crucibles, the small heating materials, jars, silica crucible that we use it to heat high heat operations, jars, china dish. These we normally use in chemical labs. At the same time, we use high frequency applications as fuses, the fuse supporting materials as insulators. Insulators, we can see that any transformer is there, where we'll see a porcelain ware materials used as fuses. These are high insulators and which can withstand even high temperatures. So that is processes are used at high temperatures. We normally call them as ceramics. The glassware we normally use in the chemical labs, the test tubes, beakers, and other glassware, pipette, burette, everything come under this. The glassware used in chemical labs. Glasses are best examples of ceramics. And the glasses that we are used for the window or doors. So window and door glasses in houses. In automobiles that we normally use a safety glass. And even for dining ware, we use the porcelain or the glassware for plates, dining plates, or cup and saucer for tea serving. So all these are mugs, jars for water serving that we are using in the kitchenware. They are all come under class of ceramics. And newer ceramics have a high hardness and high resistant and to heat and oxidation, especially heat withstanding materials. They find more application as in the name of the frank is used as a lining materials in the industrial areas. Ceramics are also having an importance in electrical and electronic industries. We are all know that in electrical industries they are used as the insulators, and in electronic industries they are used as a semi-conducting materials. The metal and non-metal oxides nowadays they are acting as a semi-conducting materials. So these ceramics are used to prepare semiconductors in electronic industry, and at the same time superconductors. And we are just observe the superconductors. They are also a combination of metal and non-metal oxides. So glass, porcelain, aluminum, quartz, mica, asbestos. These are all the applications of ceramics. The asbestos that we normally use as a roof material in villages, we can call them as ceramic materials. Trolax, a type of ceramic, is useful in optical applications. The transparent or window glass are, that we are getting, our optical applications are also they are playing a more important role and resist very high temperatures. And ceramic materials are also used nowadays as a cutting tools. Like that, when you just observe, there are so many applications of ceramics, then we are just restricted to up to cutting tools. A review. What are ceramics? The materials which are processed and used at high temperatures, like the clay products, refractory materials, glasses, cementing materials, asbestos, etc. When you are observing application of ceramics, clay products like pots, pipes, and other structural clay products, we are used for various purpose. And semiconducting materials, insulators, or superconductors in electronic and electrical industries. Lining materials as a refractive materials, lining materials in furnace and construction activities in industrial process. As a glassware, we normally use in laboratory, kitchenware, dining, automobiles, or as windows and doors. And at the same time, as a cementing materials that we normally use in the construction activities like cement, concrete, or reinforced cement concrete, etc. So this is all about the setting and hardening, refractive materials, and application of ceramics. Thank you, sir. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.